Thomas Aquinas, the voice of reason in Christianity. Scene 1, Introduction. In the annals of Christian history, few figures loom as large as Thomas Aquinas, the 13th century Dominican friar whose profound theological works merged the realms of logic, philosophy, and divine revelation. Known as the voice of reason in Christianity, he left an indelible mark on the course of religious thought and continues to be revered as one of the greatest Christian philosophers of all time. In this video, we will dive into the life teachings and enduring legacy of this remarkable individual, who quite literally reshaped the landscape of Christian theology. Join us as we explore the depths of Aquinas' intellectual prowess and the impact he had on our understanding of faith and reason. Born in 1225 in the Italian kingdom of Sicily, Thomas Aquinas came from a noble family. His father, Landolfo, was the Count of Aquino, and his mother, Tessa, was a member of the Hohenstaufen dynasty. Given his social standing, young Thomas would have enjoyed a life of privilege and luxury. However, he had other plans. Despite his noble birth, Thomas felt a calling to dedicate his life to God. This was not a common path for men of his social class, especially during the 13th century, when societal expectations often steered them towards marriage and worldly pursuits. Yet Thomas's resolve to become a friar only intensified. His journey began when he was just 21 years old. In 1246, he decided to leave his home and join the newly established Dominican order, a religious order founded by Saint Dominic de Guzman in the year 1215 with a mission to combat heresy and promote the study of theology. But Thomas's decision was met with staunch opposition from his family. They saw this choice as a form of social suicide, renouncing the privileges of their status for a life of poverty and service. His father, Landolfo, was particularly incensed. In fact, he went as far as imprisoning Thomas in the family castle, hoping to keep him away from the influence of the friars and force him to reconsider his decision. It's important to note that the Dominican order was quite strict. Members were expected to live lives of austerity, renouncing personal possessions and comfort to fully dedicate themselves to their religious studies and missions. For a young man accustomed to a life of privilege like Thomas, this was a significant departure from everything he had known. But, as the story goes, his brothers, possibly out of concern for their family's honor or at their father's behest, hatched a plan to make Thomas change his mind. They brought a prostitute to the castle, attempting to distract him from his religious pursuits. However, what they didn't know was that Thomas was steadfast in his devotion. When the woman approached him, he is said to have driven her off using a burning torch. This act of resistance showcases the strength of his commitment to his religious vocation, a commitment so strong that it wouldn't be swayed by worldly temptations. After his father passed away in 1241, Thomas was finally able to leave the family castle and make his way to a monastery in southern France, where he could pursue his dream of becoming a Dominican friar. From there, his dedication and sharp intellect quickly became evident, leading him to be sent to Paris for further studies and eventually becoming a teacher himself. These experiences laid the foundation for the extraordinary career that awaited him. The road to becoming a Dominican friar was just the beginning of Thomas's journey. Over the years, he rose through the ranks, becoming a respected teacher and preacher. His reputation for theological brilliance led him to the prestigious University of Paris, where he taught from 1248 to 1259. However, this period was not without its challenges. During the 1250s, Paris was a hotbed of philosophical debate and controversy. The teaching of Aristotle, a Greek philosopher whose works had been rediscovered in the West, was the subject of much discussion, and some of his ideas were seen as conflicting with Christian doctrine. Thomas found himself at the center of these debates, and he rose to the occasion, demonstrating not only his mastery of theological subjects, but also his ability to navigate the turbulent waters of intellectual discourse. As a teacher, Thomas was highly regarded. He lectured on a wide range of theological topics, and his approach was innovative. Instead of relying solely on scripture, he integrated philosophical reasoning into his teachings. This was a novel approach that set him apart from many of his contemporaries, who often dismissed philosophy as incompatible with theology. Thomas, however, saw the value in reason and logic, believing that they could serve as powerful tools in understanding faith. But it wasn't just his teaching abilities that made Thomas stand out. His ability to speak and write in a clear and persuasive manner also contributed significantly to his reputation. His sermons were not just religious talks, they were intellectual exercises that engaged his audience both spiritually and intellectually. Moreover, his skill in writing was instrumental in shaping theological discourse. He produced numerous treatises and commentaries that not only presented his own ideas, but also served as critiques of opposing viewpoints. One of his most famous works from this period is his commentary on the Bible, particularly his commentary on the Psalms. These writings showcased his ability to harmonize theological doctrines with philosophical reasoning, a theme that would later culminate in his magnum opus, the Summa Theologica. Around 1259, Thomas was sent back to Italy to address doctrinal issues. Upon his return to Italy, Thomas continued to teach and write prolifically. He taught at the University of Naples before moving to the newly established Studium Generale, later known as the University of Bologna. Here his star continued to rise. However, the tranquility of his academic life was once again disrupted, this time by a summons from Pope Gregory X. The Pope wanted Thomas to participate in the Second Council of Lyon, an important event in church history aimed at reuniting the Eastern and Western churches. Though the council ultimately failed to achieve its primary objective, it did result in a significant contribution to theology. At the council, Thomas defended the teachings of the Catholic Church against those of the Eastern Orthodox Church. This experience likely influenced his later views on religious ecumenism. It was during this period that he wrote one of his earliest and most influential works, the Summa Theologica. The Summa Theologica was a monumental achievement in Christian theology. It was a systematic and comprehensive treatment of theology that had never been undertaken before. Completed around 1265 or 1274, it was a massive undertaking totaling over 2 million words and comprising of 6 parts, covering a wide range of theological topics, including faith, hope, charity, sin, grace, and the sacraments. What sets the Summa apart is not just its comprehensiveness, but also its methodology. Thomas used a question and answer format, a technique commonly used in legal texts, which helped readers grasp complex theological concepts more easily. Furthermore, he integrated philosophical thought into theology by using natural theology and natural law to support his arguments. This approach made theology more accessible to a wider audience and paved the way for a deeper understanding of theological principles. But perhaps the most significant aspect of the Summa Theologica is how it treated religious topics. Thomas adopted an Aristotelian approach, emphasizing reason and logic in exploring theological issues. This was a stark departure from the prevailing approach that relied heavily on scriptural interpretation and tradition. By doing so, he laid the groundwork for a more rational and systematic understanding of Christian theology. This period of his life marked the zenith of his career. He was a renowned theologian, a prolific writer, and a respected advisor. But this success did not come without its adversaries. Some of his fellow Dominicans, particularly those who viewed his philosophical leanings as a threat to traditional theology, criticized him. Additionally, secular scholars questioned his reliance on Aristotle, seeing it as a dilution of true Christian teachings. However, despite these criticisms, Thomas stood firm, continuing to champion the use of reason in theological discourse. Despite his immense contributions to theology, Thomas's work was not without its challenges. He faced opposition from various quarters. Some theologians criticized him for incorporating Aristotelian philosophy into Christian theology, fearing it diluted the essence of Christian teachings. Others, particularly within his own Dominican order, questioned his methods, seeing his reliance on reason and logic as a departure from traditional theological approaches. However, Thomas remained steadfast in his convictions, continuing to advocate for a more rational and systematic understanding of theology. Throughout his life, Thomas Aquinas remained unmarried. He chose to dedicate his entire life to his religious and academic pursuits. He died on March 7, 1274, while on his way to attend the Second Council of Lyon. Though he didn't live to see its completion, his legacy lived on. Even after his death, his writings continued to influence theologians, philosophers, and scholars for centuries to come. Thomas Aquinas left an enduring legacy on Christian theology and Western philosophy. His approach to theology, which integrated reason and logic, revolutionized the way theology was studied and practiced. His monumental work, the Summa Theologica, stands as a testament to his brilliance and the impact he had on our understanding of Christianity. Thomas showed that deep faith and rational thought are not mutually exclusive, but can coexist and complement each other. He remains a towering figure in the history of Christianity, a man whose life and work serve as a beacon of the harmonious relationship between faith and reason. We hope you found this video insightful. If you enjoyed this journey through the life and legacy of Thomas Aquinas, we invite you to stay tuned for more engaging content. Your support means the world to us. Thank you for watching, and may his wisdom continue to inspire you. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and write your opinion in the comments.